So today is 29th of January, Ekadashi, and tomorrow is Varaha Dwadasi, and the next day is Nityananda Trayodasi. Every single year we come to these little bundle of Ekadashi. We just followed Ekadashi Brat for Advaita Acharya, and now today, and on Varaha Dwadasi tomorrow, we should speak the glories of Varahadev. Varahadev is Vishnu Tattva. So we should speak the glories of Varahadev before we honor some prasadam. And then that prasadam can be regular grains, even though it's Vishnu Tattva, because we have to break our Ekadashi with grains today. We have to break tomorrow. And then the next day is or the day after that will be Nityananda Trayodasi. So then we will follow again Vishnu Tattva, fasting from grains on Saturday also. So this is how it's described, that we should glorify Varahadev tomorrow morning. Something you can look in third canto and you can just familiarize ourselves with something of the pastime, brilliant, beautiful, powerful pastimes of Varahadev, fighting with Hiranyaksha and saving the earth from the Garbhodakshay ocean. Hiranyaksha, he mines all the gold out of the planet, so the planet sinks into the ocean, and then Varahadev, he manifests in he comes as little tiny, like a fly coming out of the nostril of Lord Brahma. Then he grows bigger and bigger and bigger in front of all the sages and all the demigods. And they're just so astonished he fills the whole sky with his form. Obviously his form has to be enormous to pick up the earth with his tusks. So he picks up the earth with his tusks. And then there's a union there. And this Nara is born from that union with Varahadev. But he has bad association. He becomes called Narakasura later on. But this pastime is very, especially the battle that Hiranyaksha has with Vishnu. Hiranyaksha is like Hiranyakashipu, huge personality, and they fight. One of the guards, Vijay, from Vaikuntha, want to facilitate Krishna's sporting desires to have battle. So they manifest. But this is the pastime, and it's Vishnu Tattva. So we should fast until we've spoken something of the glories of Varahadev, or read something of Varahadev, and then you break 8 o'clock or 8:30 in the morning, and then with ordinary grains to honor the Ekadashi today. Understand? It's quite simple.
Today in the whole of Europe is Ekadashi and Varahadev's appearance day.
Oh, so in Europe today is Ekadashi and Varahadev today. But how Varaha is Dwadasi.
I know, I checked it.
It says,
even on
so I guess it's all a little bit jumbled. But anyway, what I said originally, if we follow Ekadashi today, and Europe is different, I don't know what America is, but that's because every single year it comes the same, and every single year devotees question, how should we deal with these three Vishnu Tattva, or Ekadashi, then Vishnu Tattva, then Vishnu Tattva again for Nityananda, how we deal with that, with our Ekadasi Brats. So I've just explained how Srila Gurudev sets it out, and each year we have to explain it again. So today we're coming back to our ecstatic Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and yesterday was Ramanuja, disappearance day. Day before was Madhvacharya. So this week we're packed up full, very ecstatic week of festivals. Okay, we'll start. Agyan Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Gauda Chandraya Radhikaya Tarale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Shtapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Priya Sarupe, Daita Sarupe, Prema Sarupe, Sahajavi Rupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhueka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swavilasa Rupe. Anapita Chirim Chirat, Kurunaivaratino Kalo, Samarpaitam Unnata Ujvala, Rasam Swa Bhakti Shriyam, Hari Purata Sundaradati Kadambasa Dipita, Sadakra Dare Kandare Spuratu Vasechinandanaha. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shiksharstameka Purusha Purana Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sarira Dari Kripam Buddha Yastamaham Prabhadye Yam Pravajantamana Petyam Apetya Krityam Dvai Paino Viraha Katara Juhava Putre Titam Matayotaravo Vinidustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanada Vindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurasmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Bharadram Tato Mamanastikatina Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Naimam Charantikam. And first of all, offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya-lila Pravishta Om Asto Tadasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions of times unto the lotus feet of our dear most Nitya-lila Pravishta Om Asto Tadasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again, I'm offering my full Sastang Dandavat pranams to our dearmost Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami and all our Rupanuga Guru Varg and all the Vaishnav and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord. My Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vansha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvevicha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, Mahaprabhu has reached Puri alone. He's come in front of Lord Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra, and in his ecstasy, he was in a mood of anticipation, described walking like a lion alone, anxious to see the Lord of the universe, Lord Jagannath. He's Krishna himself, but still in the mood, in the potential of Radharani's moods. Only when he meets Rai Ramananda does that potentiality fully blossom, that Sakhi Bhav. But prior to that, he has that potential and he's tasting that to some degree in Shiva Sangam, in the Kirtan Ras, because Navadvip is Gupta Vrindavan. So if it's Gupta Vrindavan, there has to be the Ras Lila must be there. So that's for that last year when Mahaprabhu was 23, 24 years old, and they were having the Sankirtan Ras every night in Shiva Sangam. So then something of the flavors of Radhika's Bhav would come. But of course his complexion is golden. That's always with him from the very beginning. His golden complexion is Kanti. So that's always there. But now he's been anxious to see Lord Jagannath is so revered all over Bharatvash. Everyone knows about Jagannath. So certainly Mahaprabhu will have been anxious to meet Lord Jagannath for his Leela. So he quickly comes into the temple, but then he passes out in ecstasy. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya can see that this is a very high stage. This young sannyasi, young beautiful sannyasi, is exhibiting a very high stage of Asta-sattvika bhavs to such a degree that he passes out for 4 or 5 hours. He comes in the morning and it's not until noon that he actually comes back to full consciousness. So it's 4 or 5 hours that he's unconscious. So that's a long time to to remain in that high state. And then all the devotees, they chant very loudly, and then they go to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. There's a beautiful description of his relationship now with Mahaprabhu. First of all, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he's protected Mahaprabhu in the first instance from the watchmen who are running to beat him, because they get all kinds of people coming into the temple, and if someone in a very dramatic way falls down, then the watchmen are there to protect the Lord. So sahajis and all different sorts of people come in. So immediately they thought, this is a disturbance, we have to check. So they were going to beat him, but this is an opportunity for Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to protect the Lord, which he does so nicely. He orders the watchman and his men to carry him back to his house, where he tends him very nicely. And then he orders them to go to once Mahaprabhu comes back to life, back to this world, go to the ocean, the sea beach, take their bath, and then return. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya offers them sumptuous prasadam. And it's described almost like when Advaita Acharya was feeding them in Shantipur at his home. He was trying to feed the Lord more and more, and the Lord was trying to remain austere in the ashram of the sannyas and was trying to reject, but they wouldn't allow him. So he had to again take much prasadam, and then he's been taken to the auntie's house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and now the Bhattacharya is cautioning him that he has to be careful when he goes to the temple. And Mahaprabhu is taking a vow that he will never proceed beyond the Garuda Stamba. So we're getting a very strong sense of the relationship between Sarvabhauma Acharya is a brilliant personality, like Uddhav, in the sense of their brilliance, their erudition. Brihaspati, or a disciple of Brihaspati, but Brihaspati directly, I think, is Sarvabhauma. It says different things in different places, but we should accept that it's Brihaspati, and he's the Mahant of Jagannath Puri. So we'll read from verse 67, 68. Okay. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Mukunda Datalana Aile Sarvabhauma Stane Sarvabhauma Kichutanre Balila Vachane. Gopinathacharya, who is the brother-in-law, or son-in-law, of brother-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, already knows that the Lord he knows his identity he's come from Navadvip, and he knows the Lord's identity. So Gopinathacharya then took Mukundadatta with him and went to Sarvabhauma's house. When they arrived, Sarvabhauma addressed Mukundadatta as follows. So this is the next day. Just gotta take this jacket off. It's too hot. So text 69. Spring is approaching. It's very wonderful. Text 69. Prakriti vanita sanyasi dekite sundara amara bahu piriti bade unhira upara. Translation. The sannyasi is very meek and humble by nature, and his person is very beautiful to see. They're having darshan, actually, of Sri Radhika. Consequently, my affection for him increases. So This is how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is feeling naturally, spontaneously. Purport. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya considered Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu a very humble and meek person, because although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a sannyasi, he still retained his brahmachari name. The Lord took sannyas from Keshav Bharati in the Bharati Sampradaya, in which the brahmacharis, the assistants of the sannyasis, are named Chaitanya. Chaitanya means consciousness. Even after accepting sannyas, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu retained the name Chaitanya, meaning a humble servant of a sannyasi. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya appreciated this very much. We also appreciate that Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he also retained his family name of Abhay Charan. He always termed himself as this Abhay Charan Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. So he retained his name also. It's a very beautiful name, Abhay Charan, fearless, taking shelter of the Lord. Text 70. Kon sampradaya sanyas karyachena grahane kibe nama inhara sunite hoya mana. From which sampradaya has he accepted the sannyas order, and what is his name? So Sarvabhauma is inquiring to Gopinathacharya. Text 71. Gopinatha kahe nama Shri Krishna Chaitanya Guru Inhara Keshava Bharati Mahadanyaya. Gopinathacharya replied, the Lord's name is Shri Krishna Chaitanya, and his sannyas preceptor is the greatly fortunate Keshav Bharati. Keshav Bharati was like a Mayavad, practically, and Mahaprabhu has to whisper the sannyas mantra into his ear before he got the sannyas mantra from Keshav Bharati. He said, is this the mantra you're going to give me? Then he whispers that mantra in his ear, and then Keshav Bharati speaks that mantra back to him. Text 72. Sarvabhauma kahe inhara nama sarvotama Bharati sampradaya inho hayena madhyama. Translation. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, Sri Krishna is a very good name, but he belongs to the Bharati community. Therefore, he is a second-class sannyasi. Text 73. Gopinatha kahe inhare nahi bahya peksha ataiva beda sampradaya nahika apeksha. Translation. Gopinathacharya replied, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not rely on any external formality. There is no need for him to accept the sannyas order from a superior sampradaya. Gopinathacharya knows the truth. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya hasn't been enlightened yet. Purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted sannyas from the Bharati Sampradaya community, which belongs to the disciplic succession of Sankaracharya. Yes, he was following, Keshav Bharati was following Advaitavad. Practically the whole of India had been so deeply influenced by Sankaracharya. He was spreading his influence for 800 years before Ramanuja appeared. Sankaracharya introduced names for his sannyasa disciples, and these are 10 in number. Out of these, the surnames Tirtha, Ashram, and Saraswati are considered topmost. In the monastery at Sringiri, the surname Saraswati is considered first class, Bharati second class, and Puri third class. A sannyasi who has very nicely understood the slogan Tattvam Ashi, who takes his bath at the confluence of the river Ganges, Yamuna, and Saraswati, is called a Tirtha. A person who is very eager to accept sannyas, who is detached from worldly activities, who has no desire for any kind of material facilities, and who is thus saved from repeated birth and death, is known as ashram. When a sannyasi lives in a beautiful solitary place in the forest and is freed from all material desires, he is called vana. Vana means forest. A sannyasi who always lives in the forest and renounces all connection with the world in order to to be elevated to the heavenly planets, where he can live in the Nandanakanana, is called Aranya. One who prefers living in the mountains, engaging in the study of the Bhagavad Gita, and whose intelligence is fixed, is called Giri. Who prefers living in great mountains, like Giri Govardhan, Giri, even among ferocious animals, to attain the summit of philosophical speculation, understanding that the essence of this material world is useless, is called Parvat. Parvat means mountain also. A sannyasi who has dipped into the ocean of the absolute truth and collected some valuable stones of knowledge from that ocean, who never falls from the regulative principles of a sannyasi, is called Sagar. One who has learned the classical art of music, who engages in its culture, and who has become expert and completely aloof from material attachment, is called Saraswati. Saraswati is the goddess of music and learning, and in one hand she holds a musical instrument called a veena. A sannyasi who is always engaged in music for spiritual elevation is called Saraswati. One has become completely educated and is freed from all kinds of ignorance, and who is never unhappy, even in a distressed condition, is called Bharati. One who has become very expert in absolute knowledge, who is situated in the absolute truth, and who always discusses the absolute truth, is called Puri. All the sannyasis are assisted by brahmacharis, who are described as follows. One who knows his real identity and is fixed in his particular occupational duty, who is always happy in spiritual understanding, is called Swarup Brahmachari. One who completely knows the Brahman effulgence and is always engaged in the practice of yoga is called Prakash Brahmachari. One who has acquired absolute knowledge and who always meditates on the absolute truth, knowledge, the unlimited, and the Brahman effulgence, thus keeping himself in transcendental bliss, is called Anand Brahmachari. One who is able to distinguish between matter and spirit, who is never disturbed by material transformations, and who meditates on the unlimited, inexhaustible, auspicious Brahman effulgence, is a first-class learned brahmachari, and is named Caitanya. When Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was talking with Gopinathacharya about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sannyas community, he appreciated the first name Sri Krishna, but he did not like the surname Chaitanya, which is the name for a brahmachari belonging to the Bharati community. He therefore suggested the Lord be elevated to the Saraswati community. However, Gopinathacharya pointed out that the Lord does not depend on any external formality. Gopinathacharya was firmly convinced that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Krishna himself, and therefore independent of any external ritual or formality. If one wants to engage in pure devotional service, he does not require titular superiority as a Bharati or a sannyasi. Mahaprabhu is described as the most non-conformist sannyasi, or the most non-conformist preacher of Krishna consciousness. He conformed to nothing. He's God himself. He's liberated entirely to act and to conduct his activities exactly as he pleases. And his principal focus throughout his whole time as a sannyas was simply to taste the separation mood of Sri Radhika, and at the same time teach the populace, the people, teach us that actually for us to access these moods also, we simply have to vibrate the holy name of the Lord. This is our practice. It's very simple. It's very simple. If we're practicing this chanting carefully, then all these truths will be awoken in the heart. The truths are already there in the heart. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kabunai Shravanadi Shuddha Chitta Korya Udai. And it's not by sadhan that they are manifested, they're already there in the heart. Kriti Satya Bhavet Sadya Bhavsa Saranabhida Nitya Siddhyasya Bhavasya Prakritam Hridi Satya. In potential, they are there. We just simply have to water the seed that Guru has given us, this Krishna Seva Vasana. And by the water of that seed, what is the watering that the gardener of the sadhak does? That's the chanting of the holy name, and associating with devotees, and reading Srimad Bhagavatam, and serving Thakurji, and living in the holy dham. But first, this holy name has to be practiced as our regular daily sadhana. We often see the devotees get distracted from this by imagining many more important services to do. But if this principal service is not running through the current of their lives, then there's going to be some, their focus will not be direct. The compass will not be set fully, because we see devotees who are not encouraged when they're younger to chant. If they're given limited time to chant, then they don't get a taste for that. And in later life, it's very hard to get that taste. So we have to be diligent about the gifts that Mahaprabhu has given us. He's given us this gift of, remarkable gift of Manjari Bhav, Swabhakti Shriyam. But the process is through the chanting. So text 74. Bhattacharya kahe inhara proda yovana kamete sanyas dharma haibe rakshana. Translation. The Bhattacharya inquired, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in his full-fledged youthful life. He's only 24 years old. How can he keep the principles of sannyas? And he's so beautiful. He's so attractive. Text 75. Nirantara inhake Vedanta sunitaibe Vairagya Advaita Marg Pravesha Karibe. Translation. I shall continually recite Vedanta philosophy before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so that he may remain fixed in his renunciation and thus enter upon the path of monism. So the path of monism is like Advaitavad, oneness. So he's going to try and bring him to his side. Little does he know that he's come up against the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, the topmost person in existence. Purport. According to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, among sannyasis, the cultivation of Vedanta philosophy helps in becoming detached from sense gratification. We see in the 5th chapter, I think it was, in the Adi-lila, when, 7th chapter, in the Adi-lila, when Mahaprabhu goes to Banaras on his way to Vrindavan, and Prakashananda Saraswati, he also says the same thing. You should study Vedanta. Why are you not studying? Why are you just sentimentally chanting and dancing all day? This is what he says to Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu says, I am such a great fool. My spiritual master just instructed me just to chant the holy name of the Lord. So there's a beautiful instruction in this, so many instructions in that chapter. So that's chapter 7, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in 5 features. So that's a very important chapter. Detached from sense gratification. Thus, a sannyasi can protect the prestige of wearing loincloth, kopin. One has to practice sense control as well as mind control and subdue the 6 forces of speech, mind, anger, tongue, belly, and genitals. Then one can become expert in understanding the devotional service of the Lord and thus become a perfect sannyasi. For that purpose, one must cultivate knowledge and renunciation regularly. So knowledge and renunciation are the 2 qualities of the Brahman. We described yesterday the Sat Chit Ananda, and the qualities of Chit are embodied in the Brahman itself. And these are Gyan and Vairagya. So this is contained in Vedanta. But the existence aspect, which actually manifests as Paramatma, Paramatma, those practitioners of Paramatma yogi are yogis. They're described as yogis, and they're trying to develop vision of Samardarshini. Everyone is completely equal. They all have Krishna within them, but there's no variety. There's no taste. It's just the supersoul is there. This is Paramatma realization. This is like Brahma Bhuta Prasanatmana Sochati Nakanchati Samar Sarveshu Bhuteshu. That means seeing with equal vision. But the final line, this, what's the final line of that? Mad Bhaktim Labhyate Param. That my bhakti, Krishna, it becomes personal at the end. So this verse brings us down to the personal understanding of the Lord. Mad Bhaktim Labhyate Param. That my bhakta attains pure loving devotion to me. So this is to be understood by, it's beyond just controlling the speech and anger, etc. My Gurudev has given a very beautiful essay in the beginning of Venugit, describing to many devotees that sometimes devotees think that, oh, first I will become controlled, self-controlled, and become detached from this world, and then bhakti will rise. But this is not what the final verse of the Rasa Panchadhir is saying. This verse, Vikriditam Brajavadubi itam cha Vishnu Shradanvito Nushunyat Artharvaraminya Bhaktim Param Bhagavati Pratilabhya Karamam Hridroga Masava Pinoti Acharenda. When pure bhakti arises, then this disease of lust will go from the heart. First, the attraction for Krishna has to be risen in the heart. This is the first point. It's like if we study Upadeshamrita, we should first look at the 11th verse. There are 11 verses, and the 11th verse is describing about Radha Kund and who is Sri Radhika and what is the goal for the sadhak. First we should know that, and then we can practice Vacho Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udara. We can practice this controlling of the senses. But just to practice the controlling of the senses is like these Mayavad sannyasis spend their whole lives doing. They're trying to, it's the upward path that they're trying to take, this Aroha Panta, this upward path, climbing up, thinking by my efforts, I will control my senses, and then I will be qualified to understand Krishna. But what actually happens is that you get an experience of the Brahman itself, which is very blissful, and it's Shantaras. So this is the goal, ultimately, of these yogis who are trying to attain the Brahman effulgence in their consciousness. It's like they're trying to go back to the place from the Tatashta, where we've come after we've been there. Do you understand? Yes? No? No? She's looking blank.
Not really.
If just trying to understand the Brahman, trying to practice very, very strictly, but having no attraction for Radha and Krishna, the result will be very dry, and you will break. Just like Sannyasi Thakur in Jaivadama. He was a Brahmagyani, and he expresses himself when he sees that Vaishnava dancing, weeping, crying in kirtan. He realizes this Vaishnava has 1,000,000 times more blissful experience than I have. I have become dry just practicing jnana, just practicing vairagya. This is not the path. This is the path of the Brahmavadis.
You can get stuck there as well.
Absolutely you can get stuck. We read in Brihat Bhagavatamrita what happens to Gop Kumar. He gets in that place on his journey. And what happens? Shivji, Mahesh comes with the whole kirtan party. Get out of here. Don't stay here long. It's too attractive. You start to feel blissful because that's the state there. Shantaras, it's a very blissful, peaceful state of mind. And that's a very attractive goal for many people in the world. They just want moksha. Mukti, that's what it is. We have to understand this carefully and closely. So many people are on that trail. Even devotees are on that trail. They're using the Mahamantra to feel peaceful, not to appreciate the loving sentiments of the gopis. We've walked through the fourth chapter of Adi Lila. That's our sadhya, gopi prem, gopi bhav. We want that same prem that the gopis have for Krishna. Gopis aren't peaceful. They're worried about their mothers and fathers catching them. They're worried about, another party hijacking them. They're worried all the time, how can they get to Krishna? They're worried about Akrura leaving with Krishna. For 100 years, they're in separation. They have so many difficulties externally, but they have this one thread of absolute attachment to Krishna, which crosses over all boundaries of consciousness. This is the path that we want to be in, this attraction. I love Krishna so much, I can't move away from Krishna. This is the stage called Nishta, when I can't bring my mind away from Krishna. And devotional service will increase that attachment to Krishna. And what is the principal devotional service Mahaprabhu directly has given us is Harinam, Harinam, Harinam eva kevalam. Kalona steva nasteva katya anyata. This is the principal service. And we do so many other services simultaneously. So we're going to see this opened out here. It's saying one has to practice sense control as well as mind control and subdue the 6 forces of speech, mind, anger, tongue, belly, and genitals. Then one can become expert in understanding the devotional service of the Lord and thus become a perfect sannyasi. For that purpose, one must cultivate knowledge and renunciation regularly. This knowledge and renunciation should go on simultaneously. In Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, he asked Krishna how to become sober. And Krishna responds, Abhyasena takuntaya, that one should practice this austerity and vairagya to sober the mind, but with the intention of being able to perform direct devotional service to Krishna. It has to be personal. If we lose the personal flavor and it becomes impersonal, then we lose the very nugget of gold that Mahaprabhu is indicating. You understand? For that purpose, one must cultivate knowledge and renunciation regularly. When one is attached to material sense gratification, he cannot protect his sannyas order. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya suggested that by the study of vairagya, renunciation, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu might be saved from the clutches of full-fledged youthful desires. Yes, that will support, but it won't bring one back to Krishna. If you just remain on that path, trying to be detached, trying to be controlled with your senses, if that's the only thing you're thinking about, if you're struggling just to do that, that's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to hear about the Leelas, to hear about Radha and Krishna and their pastimes. That's what's going to soften the heart. This Gyan and Vairagya will harden the heart. Understand it. We have to understand it so to be able to speak to others who are on that path. Because so many are on that path because they find moksha a very attractive alternative.
It's also very difficult, isn't it?
Yes, it's very difficult. Absolutely.
Very difficult to free yourself from material desires if you're not
Got the plus, yes.
The Krishna prema.
So our path is not an artha nivriti, it's artha. Artha means wealth. Artha pravriti. To absorb the wealth is the path, not to negate. This negation doesn't inspire or soften the heart. It just makes you more of an impersonalist. You'll meet sometimes some very renounced personalities and you can hardly speak with them. They've got no juice. They're dying, they're drying up. It's tragic. The path of Krishna consciousness is fully joyful. What's that? Krishna says, Rajavidya Rajaguyam Pavitram Itamutimam Pratyakshavagaman Dharmam Susukam Kartam Avyayam. this path is joyfully performed. If it's not joyfully performed, you won't stay on it. If you're not happy, if you're banging yourself on the head all day long, trying to shove yourself into a place which isn't comfortable really, you're not going to last. We have to see the end game, the end result, like with Gopkumar, the end result is embracing Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. How are we going to realize that? Except through the teachings of Rupa Goswami, diligently, carefully. Text 76. Kahena yadi punarapi yoga patadiya samskara kariya uttam sampradaya aniya. Translation. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya then suggested Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would like, if Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would like, I could bring him into a first-class sampradaya by offering him saffron cloth and performing the reformatory process again. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's intention is very noble, and it's coming from his heart. He's softened by the appearance of Mahaprabhu, and he believes all his life that this is the path of success for a sannyasi, of renunciation and vairagya, just like Prakashananda Saraswati. They also believe this from the core of their heart. It doesn't mean it's right. So Mahaprabhu is going to purify that misconception. But his mood, his intention is positive. Purport. The Bhattacharya wanted to reinstate Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu into the Saraswati Sampradaya because he did not like the lords belonging to the Bharati Sampradaya or Puri Sampradaya. Actually, he did not know the position of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the point. He doesn't understand his identity. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not depend on an inferior or superior sampradaya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead remains in the supreme position in all circumstances. It's very instructive for us, because many other people will think the same as Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya at that time. They will all think, how can we, what is the external aspect or the external class of sannyasa of Mahaprabhu? Many will think like that. So Mahaprabhu is straightening it all out right in the very beginning. It's a big topic, actually. Text 77. Suni Gopinatha Mukunda Donhe Duka Haile Gopinatha Charya Kichu Kahite Lagila. Translation. Gopinatha Charya and Mukunda Datta became very unhappy when they heard this. Gopinatha Charya therefore addressed Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya as follows. Text 78. Bhattacharya tumi inhar najani mahima bhagavata lakshanera ihatya simha. Translation. My dear Bhattacharya, you do not know the greatness of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All the symptoms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are found in him to the highest degree. But this is like saying something to a complete non-believer, but still he's saying it. Purport. Since the Bhattacharya was an impersonalist, he had no idea of the absolute truth beyond the impersonal effulgence. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya at this time must be about 55, coming to 60. He's in his mature years, and he's completely soaked in the impersonal conception, and he always has been. Not only is that his understanding and knowledge, but everyone else around him is reflecting that same mood back to him and proclaiming him to be a very great man. So it's reinforced his opinion. He's quite confident of his opinion. He's never been told otherwise. This is why it's going to be such a shock for him when Mahaprabhu starts to wake him up. Purport. Since the Bhattacharya was an impersonalist, he had no idea of the absolute truth beyond the impersonal effulgence. However, this is the same as all the devas, all the demigods. Brihaspati is described as Brahman realized in the fourth canto of the Bhagavatam. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes he's Brahman realized. Therefore, all the devas are focusing on the Brahman. They also have this impression. However, Gopinathacharya informed him that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who know the Absolute Truth know it in 3 phases, as explained in Srimad Bhagavatam 1, 2, 11. This famous verse. Vedanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti parametmati bhagavan iti shabhyate. This was the first verse my beloved Gurudev demanded I know. He says, when you know this verse, you can defeat any impersonalist or any yogi to bring him to a Bhagavan realization. It's the 3 stages. Brahmati, Paramatmati, Bhagavan, iti shabhyate. Those who are in knowledge of the non-dual absolute truth know very clearly what is Brahman, what is Paramatma, and what is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 3 divisions. And it's not a process that first you have to know Brahman, and then you will have to know Paramatma, and then you will know the Supreme Lord. Never, 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 never. I asked my Gurudev that one time, I think I shared before. I asked him, I'll say it again, because some people didn't hear me. But I asked him, do we need Paramatma realization? Paramatma realization is realization like a yogi. You have all mystical type of experiences, etc. And I asked him, do we need Paramatma realization first? He was standing in a doorway and he jumped very vigorously, grabbed my shoulders and said, never, to make that impression very clear. That is not our path, because the mystic attraction may be tantalizing to a youthful sadhak. You're getting colors and all kinds of phantasmagoria. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was once told by one young lady disciple, oh, every time I chant Hare Krishna, I see a beautiful red light. What was Swami Maharaj's response? It'll go away soon, don't worry. But some youthful person might be thinking, oh, that's the goal. Like that impersonalist I've told you about before, Muktananda. His book is called The Blue Pearl. Within us is a blue light, that blue light of truth. And within there is a beautiful cowherd boy, baby. And Muktananda thinks that's him. That's the fight. This is, in the devotee association, we forget that all these other groups exist as well. Like right now, the Buddhists are walking all across America with the message of peace. What sort of peace? Om, Hari Om, just peace in the Brahman. Nirvana. That is what, and people are so attracted to that. I mean, millions of viewers are seeing every single day. The devotee honors that. Yes, they're doing a nice job for humanity, but it's not the ultimate reality. It's limited. It's just in the first Brahman. It hasn't even reached Paramatma. And they're such nice people, the Buddhist monks. They're so kind and generous, even though they might drink wine or eat meat. I can remember once in Australia seeing some Buddhist monks walking around with their trolleys in the supermarket. They had bottles of wine in there and meat in there. I mean, they don't follow strictly the philosophy of ahimsa, which was the philosophy of Lord Buddha. They're not all like that. So we have to not judge, but we have to see what is the reality in this world we live. Don't be sentimental about these things. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Sad Aishwarya Purna. Sad, complete, with 6 opulences. Sad is 6, Aishwarya, Purna. Aishwarya is majestic and Purna is full. Complete with 6 opulences. Gopinathacharya emphasized that all these 6 opulences are completely existing in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is all we have to realize. But people's material desires or the desire to enjoy some state of consciousness which is exciting and is giving us some type of relief from the material onslaught is the supreme reality. Advaita Acharya, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is the same here. Text 79. Tahate vikyayate inho parama ishvara Agyan stane kishunahe vigyanera gochara. Translation. Gopinathacharya continued, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is celebrated as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who are ignorant of this connection find the conclusion of knowledgeable men very difficult to understand. Most men don't understand this final conclusion, so most men are perplexed by Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu is a covered incarnation. He's not walking around performing lots of miracles for everyone to proclaim him as their Supreme Lord. Text 18. Shishya Gana Kahe Ishvara Kahe Kaun Pramane Acharya Kahe Vigyan Mata Ishvare Lakshane. Translation. The disciples of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya retaliated. By what evidence do you conclude that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord? No problem. It's good for them to retaliate. They should. If they want to learn, they have to express their own opinions that can be purified by your inquiry. If you're thinking this, then inquire. Ask, what is the proof? What is your Shastric Praman? Gopinath, I just got two translations. Oh, must be the same. Gopinathacharya replied, this is all in verse 80. Gopinathacharya replied, the statements of authorized acharyas who understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead are proof. Now, purport. Since the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there have been many pseudo-incarnations in India who do not present authorized evidence. Many, many, many. 500 years ago, the disciples of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, being very learned scholars, were certainly right in asking Gopinathacharya for evidence. That's what I said. If a person proposes that he himself is God, or that someone else is an incarnation of God, or God himself, he must cite evidence from Shastra to prove his claim. Thus, the request of the Bhattacharya's disciples is quite bona fide, just like Advaita Acharya. He wanted to know exactly that this was the Supreme Lord when he came to the Shiva Sangam, when he was called to see his first darshan. And he saw the universal form, which is beautifully described by Vrindavan Das Thakur. He saw millions of suns, so bright, and he saw all the aspects of the Supreme Lord and all those devas worshipping the Supreme Lord. Thus, the request of the Bhattacharya's disciples is quite bona fide. Unfortunately, at the present moment, it has become fashionable to present someone as an incarnation of God without referring to Shastras. There are so many in India, they have a nice name for it. It's called Godmen. And they bust them about once a month. They're always busted, usually for molesting young girls or something like this. It's generally in that area because they haven't controlled themselves. Unfortunately, at the present moment, before an intelligent person accepts someone as an incarnation of God, however, must ask about the evidence. When the disciples of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya challenged Gopinathacharya, he immediately replied correctly, we must hear the statements of great personalities in order to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Krishna is established as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by statements from many authorized persons, such as Brahma, for a start, the creator of this universe. What does he have to say? Narad, in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we have the Chatushloki in the 9th chapter, explaining all of these things. Vyasadeva himself established. Asita and Arjun. Similarly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also established as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by evidence from the same personalities. This will be explained later. So this Shastric Praman will be coming. So text 81. Shishya kahe Ishvara Tattva Shadi Anumane Acharya kahe Anumane Nahe Ishvara Jane Gyane. The disciples of the Bhattacharya said, we derive knowledge of the absolute truth by logical hypothesis. Logical. it'll be explained here in the commentary. Gopinathacharya replied, one cannot attain real knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by such logical hypothesis and argument. Purport. The Mayavadi philosophers, in particular, make certain hypotheses about the absolute truth. That means they conjecture something almost from nothing to become something. They haven't actually got the initial premise, the initial truth, and it's a speculative deduction. They reason that in the material world we experience that everything is created. If we trace the history of anything, we find a creator. Therefore, there must be a creator of this huge cosmic manifestation. By such reasoning, they come to the conclusion that a higher power has created this cosmic manifestation. The Mayavadis do not accept this great power to be a person. So generally, it's a Brahmavad who believes in Brahm, in that the created light. But a Mayavad ultimately believes that he is God. This is the distinction that we said before. The Mayavadis do not accept this great power to be a person. Their brains cannot accommodate the fact that the huge cosmic manifestation can be created by a person, because they're thinking that they are people, so how can someone else create this world? They're putting all on the same level as themselves. They doubt this because as soon as they think of a person, they think of a person within the material world with limited potency. Sometimes the Mayavadi philosophers will accept Lord Krishna or Lord Ram as Bhagavan, but they think of the Lord as a person having a material body. The Mayavadis do not understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, has a spiritual body. They think of Krishna as a great personality, a human being, within whom there is the supreme impersonal power Brahman. This is exactly what the demigods think. They see Vishnu. Vishnu comes and bails them out so many times in their battles and wars. But they see him as part of the Brahman, not as being the Brahman itself and beyond. The Mayavadis do not understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, has a spiritual body. They think of Krishna as a great personality, a human being, within whom there is the spiritual impersonal power Brahman. Therefore, they finally conclude that the impersonal Brahman is the supreme. The impersonal Brahman is the supreme. Understand? This is the basis of the Mayavadi philosopher. However, from the Shastras, we can understand that the Brahman effulgence consists of the bodily rays of Krishna. Yasya Prabha Bhavato, Yasya Prabha Bhavato Jagananda Koti, Koti Ashesha Vasuhadi Vibhuti Binam, Tad Brahma Nishkalamanantam Ashesha Bhutam, Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda, the primeval Lord, the effulgence of whose transcendental body is known as the Brahmajyoti. That Brahmajyoti, which is unlimited, unfathomed, and all-pervasive, is the cause of the creation of unlimited numbers of planets with varieties of climates and specific conditions of life. So this is from the Brahma Samhita. So this is the proof of the personal nature of the Lord. Mayavadi philosophers study the Vedic literature, but they do not understand that in the last stage of realization, the absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. They do not accept the fact that there is a creator of this cosmic manifestation, but that is Anuman, hypothesis. Even Lord Brahma himself was bewildered by Krishna's potency. And in the Brahma Vimohan Lila, he tries to bewilder Krishna. He can't believe that this little boy actually is the Supreme Lord. The Mayavadi philosopher's logic is something like seeing smoke on a hill and concluding that there is fire. When there is a forest fire on a high hill, smoke is first of all visible. Since it is known that smoke is created when there is fire, from seeing the smoke on the hill, one can conclude, this is hypothesis, one can conclude that a fire is burning there. But perhaps it's not a fire, it might be a cloud. Similarly, from seeing this cosmic manifestation, the Mayavadi philosophers conclude that there must be a creator. So we see the smoke, or we think that it's smoke, but it could be a cloud. It's hypothesis. You're just presuming that it's something, but it might be something else completely different. This is the Mayavadi philosophy. They don't listen to the Shastra's explanations, like Lord Brahma. When he writes this Brahma Samhita, he's already understood who is the Lord. The disciples of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya wanted evidence to show that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was actually the creator of the cosmic manifestation. Only then would they accept him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original cause of creation. Gopinathacharya replied that one could not understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by guesswork. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Naham Prakash Sarvasya Yoga Maya Samavritaha Mudayam Nibajati Lokamam Ajam Avyayam. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by my eternal creative potency, Yogamaya, and so the deluded world knows me not, who am unborn and infallible. The Supreme Personality of Godhead reserves the right of not being exposed to non-devotees. He's a person. He can choose who he gets exposed to or not. He can only be understood by bona fide devotees. Lord Krishna says elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita 18:55, Bhaktya mam abhijananti yavan yaschasmi tatvataha. One can understand me only by the devotional process, devotional service. In the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hya etad uttamam. Here, Lord Krishna informs Arjuna that he is disclosing the secrets of the Bhagavad Gita to him because he is his devotee. Arjuna was not a sannyasi, nor was he a Vedantist or a Brahmana. He was, however, a devotee of Krishna. So this is the principle, devotion to Krishna. The conclusion is that we have to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the devotees. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself says, Guru Krishna Prasad Poi Bhakti Lata Bij. It's in Madhya-lila 1951. This is he speaking to Rupa Goswami. More evidence can be cited to show that without the mercy of a devotee or the mercy of Krishna, one cannot understand what is Krishna and what is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in the next verse. So this association with devotees is so important, and the devotees who have this knowledge, for them to give their association in the world, is what the devotee spends his life doing. He spends his life sharing this knowledge. If we hold it in, then we don't really believe it. It's indicative of we actually don't really believe this truth. We just think it's just book knowledge. But if we understand it, if we have it, grasped it, then we'll want to speak it in any circumstance. We'll try to pull the subject matter to examining who is that Supreme Lord in the whole world. And we will probably be very surprised what most people think of that. So we'll stop here today. This is on verse 82. It's a very exciting chapter. I think it's a very exciting chapter. Okay, so tomorrow we'll carry on with this. Sri Caitanya Caritamrta ki jai, Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami ki jai, Gold Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Vanshakapatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhevcha, Patitanam Pavnibhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. Ekadasi Brat Ki Jai, Varahadev Ki Jai, Nityananda Trayodasi Ki Jai, Go Premanande.